Hey, man.
Hey, what's up, buddy?
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
We brought in a special guest.
We've got a very special guest today.
So should we Rochambeau to see who gets to talk to him?
Flip a coin, maybe?
No, I won the toss.
Yeah.
We've already decided.
Yeah, he just wanted to rub it in.
Yeah. But someone that we have known for a while and we've teased a couple of times
We
before.
talk about him a lot.
Yep. And we're lucky enough to have him in the Valley. And I'm pretty excited to get this underway. So is there anything you wanted to wrap up during, since we haven't talked in a few days? And
Let's get to Ricky's insight, man.
you want to get to Ricky's
This
insight?
is really exciting.
Okay.
I can't wait to hear what he has to say.
And we'll get back to the rest of disc golf next week. All right. Let's go. All right. Ricky Wysocki. Great to see you, man.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Love having you in Arizona. It's a big deal to us when you're out there everywhere else on the planet, literally, during the season. We never see you. But in the wintertime, we know we're going to get some time. So we appreciate it. We appreciate your time.
Glad to spend some time hanging out with you guys and be a part of the podcast.
Thanks, dude.
Yeah.
You're looking good, too. You got your recovery because I mentioned it once before when you came back from the tour, the World Series was happening. You just won the Tour Championship. I gave you a bear hug, and there was barely anything left of you. It was.
All my energy was gone, huh?
You were, and that's what that was my point in talking to Jay was this man. I don't think people appreciate how athletic this really is at your level.
Yeah,
and it's crazy.
I explain it like it's like a mental well, and so like the beginning of the season, you want to have that mental well full. And then by the time you play week in and week out, that mental well comes and it drains. And so, like you said, at the end of the season, my mental well, physical well is drained. And so that's where I was at. I was completely just gassed out.
That's interesting. So does it take timing? Like you have to know, like you got to keep so much in the well. Mm-hmm. So there's only, when you get towards the end of the season, you don't want to burn it out a month early. You don't want to burn it out a month late. You got to try and time that perfectly. So
yeah, I think it's scheduling is so important. Not like I think a lot of us, it's like 2 or 3 weeks on, and then you need a week off to just recover your mind, go out in the wood, in the cabin in the woods type thing, and just relax and not think about anything, and just let that mental well reset a little bit.
Right. As
opposed to just going grind, and never giving yourself that break.
Right.
And so after 3 or 4 weeks in a row, it just feels like you're going through the motions and you're not really like dedicating and just feeling like you're putting your all end all be all into it. And so I think that's important when you're making a schedule, for me especially. 2 or 3 weeks on, 1 week off. Let's
get to a schedule down the road, but before we get there, I think the viewers would love to hear about early Ricky Wysocki days, because I know of a few stories and they're amazing. So if you don't mind, would you share with the audience just 1 or 2 things? But really, when you're on the tour, so that would be 2009 was when you turned pro, yeah? Mm-hmm. So I imagine between 2009 and 2011, there's some stuff in there that people just don't know what you had to do to grind it out.
For sure, yeah. And so like you said, 2009, 10, those were years where I was pro, but I was bottom level, like just barely cashing to the point where I'd enter the tournament with like whatever $150, $200 entry fee, and then I would be like, scraping to get last cash, which was like $200. So I'm like barely breaking even. So I'm going week to week, like maybe cashing, maybe not. And so it's just like it was tough. And so there was all these little people always would make fun of me how I was the penny pincher on tour, because I was like, and I had to be, because I was the kind of the bottom feeder, so to say, as far as like not making much money. And there wasn't much money even for the top guys that were winning the tournaments. And for me, I was barely cashing. And so for me, I had a like a real crappy Honda Accord is what the car that I had. And so I would show up to a tournament in my Honda Accord. I would get in town. I would play the course all day and all night. And then I would get to like nighttime where I was like, had to find a place to sleep. And I would like find the last person at the course, like, hey, you got a couch I can sleep on? And but hopefully they had a couch, and if they didn't, I would just sleep in the parking lot and sleep in my car, and then wake up, play some more, and so it wasn't the glamorous lifestyle, eating McDonald's dollar menu food, because that was all I could afford, and so then when I would travel to the next tournament, like driving, I would like a long drive, let's say, I would pull over into like a hotel parking lot, sleep in the hotel parking lot, then go get breakfast, like get my oatmeal, and like kind of like sneak in there, pretend like I had this little trick where I'd like go up in the elevator and then come down in the elevator like I'm coming from a hotel room.
Yeah, so you go in the back, go up the stairs, and
go down the elevator, and then come down. So I'm like feels like I'm fitting in, like I'm actually staying there. Obviously, I wasn't. And then so most time it would work out. I had one time I remember the hotel manager, which I totally get it. I went in there, ate my little oatmeal and eating cereal, just like, oh, sweet, I finally get some good breakfast, And he like chased me out. You don't stay here. You're not staying here, are you? And I'm like, no. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, I'll leave. He's like, I call the cops. I'm like, all right. I walked out with my oatmeal and went on my way. So that was kind of the end of that. That scared me. I was like, all right, I probably shouldn't do this. But it was, that was a super funny moment.
But those are the days. Those are the days. You look back and it's, man, you're such a 13 years ahead now, obviously, but it's still like it must feel in the rearview mirror a long ways back. But those are the things that build the character and sort of make you who you are. Because you're such a, I've known you for well over a year now, and you've always been such a humble guy to me. And that you're a 2-time world champion now, move forward, right? And so it's easy to, when you're ranked as high as you are in the world and you've done the things that you've done in the sport, and it's easy to sort of get wrapped up in that sort of that celebrity, even though we're sort of in a disc golf bubble. Yeah. And we really are. But there probably are a few places where you can go and get seriously recognized, right? Like you can't just even have dinner without someone running up. Yeah. And so you're going from the hotel getting chased out by an owner to writing an amazing contract for yourself and being recognized on different continents around the world, doing something that you love. That's an incredible journey. Yeah, it is, and it's something that we're, I'm very thankful to be able to, go through those, like you said, those growing pains. And as a player, it's not always glamorous, but it's something that kind of makes your character and makes you realize and appreciate everything that I've worked hard for today. Yeah. And, it's just, I'm very thankful that I've put in the work and got to where I'm at. But I'm very thankful that I'm able to also give back, to people. Now through my foundation, we're able to give back to kids. And so I feel like I'm putting that good karma back for maybe stealing a couple bowls of oatmeal from the hotel owners. So if you're the hotel owner, I'm sorry for that. I was going through rough times, and I'm giving back now. Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. I'm gonna just click through a couple of things that we wrote down, because obviously you've had a heck of a decade. So it's the first time we've sat down to chat. What was the moment that you realized disc golf was something you wanted to do? Like you were gonna make that commitment to sleep in the car, tournament to tournament. Yeah, I think that was another crazy moment in my career, was trying to tell my parents, like, hey, I don't want to play baseball anymore. I want to play disc golf, because they're, all-American dad. Like, hey, we're playing baseball. You're going to high school, hopefully college, and try to work your way up and try to see what you can do as a professional potentially. And then I went through, and I remember at my high school tryouts, I just got introduced to disc golf, and I botched my tryouts for baseball. Like I was going to make the team, like I was a shoo-in. And I just started missing ground balls, striking out on purpose, because I wanted to play disc golf. I didn't want to play baseball. Real. So I literally botched tryouts on 100% on purpose. I missed the team because I wanted to spend more time playing disc golf. So that was kind of my crazy. And my dad was like, knew something was really fishy going on, and then come to find out, I actually, like you said, I packed up my stuff when I was like 17. I skipped my high school graduation to go on tour, and I skipped my high school graduation, like I said, and packed up my stuff, and I went on tour. And that was the end of that. That's how I kind of got my feet wet in the disc golf tournament world. That's incredible. Yeah, that really is. That's incredible. Yeah. Yeah. And so there was a crazy moment like throughout my career where like I had to like prove my dad like, hey, I made the right decision, because he's just looking out for the best of me. Baseball has a lot of money. There's a lot more opportunities in baseball at the time there was. And I was really good. I was really good at baseball. What was your hitting average? I played shortstop, and then I pitched a lot as well. Oh, okay. I think that's where I got my forehand, and I'm able to throw really well. And then I was like a leadoff, I was like a single and double hit. I wasn't a home run hitter, but I could get on base. I made really good contact with the ball. And,
Yeah, I wasn't. I was really good and really fast too.
Yeah, I could see being 6'5".
Yeah, I wasn't that tall.
Were
in high
you
school,
throwing
but,
over, or were you throwing?
I was thrown over, and I throw good curveballs and stuff. I think so. I think just the arm slots, all the different arm slots you throw, and when you're pitching, I think is something to where like I throw forehand, I throw backhand, and so I think that's a
Right.
big correlation.
What was your arm speed? Do you know back in high school?
I only played. I didn't throw super fast. I kind of stopped right when I was getting to that point where you really want to start throwing hard, like 10th grade. So
Yeah.
I didn't really get to the point where I was really,
But you were probably somewhere I'm assuming 70s.
Yeah, probably. I would say something
At a young age like that. That's when
And
you start
curveballs.
you start turning heads when you start 70,
Yeah, for sure.
10th grade, right?
Mhm.
You start going, okay, that we know where the extra 20 mile an hour comes from.
Yeah, exactly.
Between this age and
In
that
this
age.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So that's pretty cool.
Uh-huh.
So, was Dad's expectations? Do you think that he wanted you to play baseball because he knew how much you loved it to that point, and disc golf might just be like a summer thing that you
Yeah.
had a lot of fun with the friends or whatever?
Exactly.
But then he saw the turnaround, right? That
Yeah. I think
obviously you're on tour. You made this kind of a commitment.
Yeah, and so like you said, where was the moment that I kind of realized that was, because
Yeah.
that for a while I was kind of like maybe thinking like, hey, maybe Dad was right. I maybe did make a mistake. Like,
Well,
of
I
course,
can see that. creeping in.
and so he kind of wasn't supportive of it, and he thought I was making a mistake, and so I didn't really talk to him too much for the first like 2 years when I was on tour. I basically was just on this massive quest to like prove him that like, hey, I'm gonna make something of myself through this disc golf thing, and so it was more of like, I want to prove myself to him. And so I think that was great motivation for me. I used it as motivation, like, hey, I'm going to prove to my dad that I can make this a career path. And so, yeah, the first 2 years, we didn't talk much. I think he wasn't real happy with my decision.
Right.
And so that was.
So there must have been some people on tour though that you really warmed up to that, not necessarily in a mentorship, but you must have looked at as, look, they've carved this out for themselves. I'm playing golf with them week in, week out, and I see where I'm climbing. And who was that sort of light for you when you were out there?
Yeah, so
at
it was
that age?
a lot of time. Like a lot of the good players back when I was playing was like Nate Doss, Dave Felberg, Avery Jenkins, and the Jenkins family was from my same hometown. So,
okay.
So I was able to I went in their RV. I thought that was the coolest thing. They took me under their wing, and I went on tour in their RV for a summer. And I was able to go to some tournaments, get my feet wet in the big tournament scene because I had just been playing local tournaments, and so that was.
And then
really
sort of
cool.
have that family vibe to. That's a nice way to sort of set a foundation in, and then go do what you want to love, right?
Exactly.
Right,
And so them being a family, they were, Avery was a world champion at that time, just won world championship, and I think 2009 is when he won. So it was like 10 or 11 is when I actually met up with them and we went on tour.
Wow.
And so they took me under their wing, the Jenkins family. I'm very thankful for that. And they kind of showed me the tour life, what it's going to be like, living in an RV, traveling around the country, playing the sport we all love.
Did they see the talent in you? Was it there?
Yeah, I think that's a big reason why that they offered that opportunity to me, is because they saw the talent that I had, and I think they saw the drive that I had too. Yeah, just the amount of practice I put in, and just the fact that I wasn't going to be stopped. I was just sun up to sundown practicing all day, every day. And I think that really resonated with them to where, hey, it's going to be worth their time taking me under their wing because I'm going to be putting effort in and using all their advice, and whatever they tell me, I'm going to be putting to good use.
So back then, I'm just curious because obviously there's so many of us that weren't there but have found the game in recent years. I've been to a few tournaments, and it does seem at times that it's a little bit on the weekend, it's a little bit of the party. It's this cool thing that they get to do all year long where week in, week out, we sort of set up camp and we have a good time and we play disc golf. But I never, since I've known you, I've never felt that you've sort of fit into that mold as much as you are this guy who wants to be the best at something that he loves. It's a totally, like, there's two ways you can go with that, right? You can join the group and have fun, which you do. I do know that, but there's also this drive that you have that's phenomenal.
Yeah, I think that's very, like on tour, especially like what you're saying, there are people that are out there that are really talented players that like to party. It's almost like they're partying with a side of disc golf. And it's like, I'm the complete opposite. It's like, I'm disc golf first. Everything that I own is basically on this one goal. And it's like an all-in mentality. And so I can really, focus on that, and then everything else is just kind of a side thing.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what it takes to get to the level that I'm at. And obviously that's also, as from a disc golf standpoint, it's great, but there's also things that have sacrificed too. Like if you're all in constantly practicing and focusing on this one thing, there's other things that may falter because you don't have the time. You don't have time to spend as much time with family. Right. So it's like some of those relationships may not be as good as they could be because I'm constantly traveling and doing other things. And
right.
I've gotten better at trying to balance the two over the years, but I still need to keep myself in this spot. I don't want to take away from how I've got here.
Right.
And that's just by putting all my eggs in this basket. You always hear people say, don't put all your eggs in one basket. And that's true. But also you don't know if you can or can't do something unless you do that.
Right.
Right. So the comfort zone is...
Unless you're getting run out of the hotels, man.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
How committed are you?
Right? Are you good to that point or no?
Yeah. If you're not getting run out of the hotel, I'm going to take that level down a notch on you. Right, that's so true. Let me keep us on path if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Host families you brought up, and I thought that was really touching, where over the years when you were at the courses and you were the last guy off the course, or you're approaching someone who's out there practicing or playing, and you're like, hey, you got room on the sofa?
Yeah.
But fast forward us 10 years and you've still got some of those relationships, which I think are absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I think that's the amazing thing about disc golf is those people turn into just family. They really do. They're not just disc golf family. They're just real family. They're always there for you. You can always call them for different things that pop up, and they can offer insight and help with whatever situation may rise that doesn't even pertain to disc golf, but you did meet them, on the disc golf course or somehow related in the disc golf, circle. And so, yeah, I've been very fortunate to get a lot of great people to just completely randomly just meeting up with them, like whether it's at a course or on a Facebook page. Hey, I'm in so-and-so town. You got anybody have a place? And then boom, someone responds. And then, hey, you can stay on my couch. I don't have much space. I don't need anything luxurious. I'm just trying to crash out for a couple hours and have a, spot to stay for that week. And then it turns into, year after year, you go there and just create a relationship. They have kids. You start meeting their kids and you feel a part of their family. And the other cool part about that is now that I have a place and I'm fortunate enough to have a nice house and have some amenities, I'm able to share that with people. I have, Cupcake. He's staying at my house. He stays at my house. He's full reigns to do whatever he wants at my house. So I feel like, that's kind of my way of giving back to the disc golf world is I did that, and I stay with couch surfed with people. And now if anyone needs a house to stay at for the Shelley Sharp or the Memorial, any tournaments in town, my house is always full. I'm laying out mattresses everywhere, all over the place, like putting mattresses out for them. And so that's kind of the full circle thing that comes full circle is I feel like that's kind of I feel like I want to do that because people helped me out and I want to help the disc golf world and give them back.
To pay it back.
Yeah, definitely.
So do they have to go into the plunge? Is there initiation?
Yeah, so that's always the funny thing I always say is the only thing I ask is you got to do an ice bath and then you're initiated for the week and you can stay for the week or however long you need. Yeah.
We're gonna test the metal right out of the gate.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, if you're mentally fit to stay at the Sake Bomb house.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I want to get into meals in restaurants, because it's kind of an important thing. I know you to be someone that really watches what they eat, and better than probably most anyone I know at the moment, in fact, especially over the holidays. I know I came over to watch some of the national championship game at your place, and there's this beautiful steak laid out. And so I know you guys are protein in it and watching your starts and all the other stuff. Tell us about tour life 13 years ago, 5 years ago, and what you're doing now and how that's changed.
Yeah, obviously it's so the beginning times it was just whatever I could afford, which is dollar menu. And another thing I would do that's funny is I would get my canteen water bottle that had my disc golf bag. I'd go into the gas station, fill it up with water and ice, and then walk out and not buy a water bottle because I couldn't afford the water. So that was my way, amazing. Young brain like thinking, how can I save money but still be able to be out here on tour? So I had to sacrifice. I couldn't buy a luxurious water bottle, a Fiji water bottle like I can now. Right. I got to go in and fill up my water bottle, put in the pop station, ice, water, and walk out. And I didn't spend any money. Right. And so, and then for food, it was more of like I would buy. It was funny. I would buy like a big bag of trail mix. Those big bags of trail mix. I would go to Walmart and buy that for $7 or whatever for the huge bag, or $5, whatever it was. and then I would just literally eat handfuls of trail mix for like breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So I'm like, all right, if I get this bag of trail mix, I got like almost a week worth of food. And so that's literally all I would eat. So I had $5. I had water from the gas station and a $5 bag of trail mix, and I'm good for like a couple weeks.
You probably so unwittingly you actually had probably a pretty healthy diet.
Yeah, right. Peanuts and maybe little M&Ms in that trail mix weren't great, but peanuts and raisins and whatever else is in trail mix.
Yeah, but you're probably walking 5, 6, 10 miles a day. You're
Mhm.
throwing how many discs a day?
Yeah.
So to stay on restaurants though, there had to be the odd place that you found that was sort of a mom and pop, and a lot of the disc golf stores are in smaller communities, or not stores but tournaments are in smaller communities. They're not always plucked like right in Los Angeles. They're not in downtown. Yeah, you're sort of on the outskirts of these towns, bigger cities. So did you find like places that you really liked and over the years would return and have like maybe a good luck meal or something like that?
Yeah, so definitely there's lots of places that people recommend, and you start learning the places and the spots, and where, like, just like the roads, like in a city, you go to a city, you know the roads, you know where to drive even without a GPS.
Yeah.
And so like same with restaurants, hey, I want to go here, and you have like your little spots that you go, and that's that part's really cool to be able to. But even that's changed as you get a little more successful. You maybe like to go to a steakhouse everyone, like I do now. Like I like steak, so
Right.
I do like to splurge with going to like a nice steakhouse nowadays, as opposed to back then. There wasn't as much like cultural food. I'm not going to go to the Thai restaurant. It's too expensive at that point in my career, and I'm between like 17 and like 21. I was just not making that much money.
Right.
And even when you're winning tournaments back then, it wasn't that much money. I mean, you're talking $1,000, $2,000. It wasn't like nowadays where you're winning $20,000, $10,000, $20,000 for a win. So yeah, that's changed a lot. And yeah, a lot of times there's, local disc golfers are owning restaurants and they're recommended spots. So they're, if you're at a tournament, you get like a coupon in the players packs, and you're trying to support the local disc golfers restaurant. I have a funny story about a restaurant. Actually, I stayed in a tournament in Rochester, New York. I remember I was staying with Greg Barsby and a couple other people, but we were staying at a tournament, and someone had actually crashed into my car, and somehow they knew I was a disc golfer, and so they crashed into my car. They left a note saying, "Hey, I own this restaurant, a sushi restaurant in town," and this was early on in my career. I'm like, "Oh, sweet!" And so he left the note saying, "Hey, I own a sushi restaurant. I crashed in your car. I'll pay you back by letting you bring a group of friends in with to get sushi." And so I'm like getting everybody together. Yeah, let's get everyone together. And we got like 20 people. They racked up the bill like $2,000 or something crazy. And we were all drinking sake bombs and stuff. And it was
What about
hilarious.
the car?
The car, I just let it, I let it go. I was like, I didn't care about that. I'm like, I made it like a bandit. Yeah, made it like a bandit. He crashed my car, probably $200 or $300 worth of damage. I ate $2,000 worth of sushi with everybody. So we got our money's worth.
Rochester, New York. Have you ever gone back since?
I haven't gone back since, but I'll never forget that story for sure.
I don't know if he'd ever see this, but if he does, leave a comment.
Definitely, that would be hilarious.
What's the tournament there?
So the Rochester Flying Disc Open.
Yeah,
it
was.
So that was a big tournament like in the 90s, and it kind of like petered out. And then like when I went was like I think 2011, 12 in that area.
Got it.
And that was becoming bigger, and then just had they're kind of resurfacing again. I know they had a big tournament this year, the Rochester Flying Disc Open.
Right. And I heard a story because of that event that Steady Ed went out there and saw the tournament before baskets were invented. They had something going on.
Yeah.
So he flew out to see what they were doing, and then that's where he came up with the idea to catch it.
That's so
Something
cool.
needs to catch a frisbee, not throw it to a spot where like a golf ball.
Right.
But to actually catch it. So there's huge significance, I believe, around that event.
Rochester has a lot of history. Lots of Jim Palmieri's a very early on disc golfer that's paved the way in a lot of ways, and it was definitely a significant part of where disc golf is today. I know he was. Pretty sure he's friends with Steady Ed or something back in the day. So that's kind of cool.
No one's probably other than a rock star and put on the miles than you guys on the tour, because you have sort of that load up in the van to the next town, play, load up the van, next town, play. So what's the music that you're jamming from Point A to point B.
So that's a good one. Tool. I like Tool because I like their songs are literally like almost 10 or 15 minutes long. And so you just get in a good groove and, 10, 15 minutes goes by. It feels like nothing. And so, yeah, the Tool songs are really long and it helps me get in the rhythm. And it's funny, someone, saying like as a road warrior, you see a lot of stuff and you do because like I remember one time going to a tournament, I was driving from South Carolina all the way to New Mexico, which was like a 30-something hour drive, and I drove straight through without stopping just for gas.
Ooh.
So that's the kind of stuff I always tell people we probably drive more than a truck driver, literally, because and especially back then the tour wasn't as well thought out. So we'll go play a tournament on Sunday and we have to be at the next stop, and get ready to practice for that week. And we're having to drive 12 hours to the next event. So that whole next Monday is all driving. Wow. But anyways, yeah, I was driving and I almost made it I was in Oklahoma and I was driving straight through. It was like 2 or 3 in the morning. I'm still driving this crazy drive and I got crashed into by a semi truck. And I literally I was driving and then I remember, the only thing I remember is like seeing lights. A truck driver blew a red light and had crashed into me, T-boned me, and I flew off the side of the road, almost went into a pond. And then I woke up with my head like on the steering wheel.
So it knocked you out.
It knocked me out. Yeah, I was knocked out and woke up and my car was smoking and stuff. And I had to get out of my car because I thought I was going to explode or something. And so I walked out of the car and the paramedics showed up and all this stuff. And they said that if they would have crashed into me any closer to my legs, that I would have been just paralyzed completely. So yeah, that was nuts. That was a crazy experience that I was traumatized. I had nothing happen to me. I walked out and the paramedics were shocked that I was even moving.
What car was this?
This was the Honda Accord. That was the last of the Honda Accord. Yeah. So that was the last. It got totaled in that accident.
It saved your life.
I did pretty much did. The safety standards are probably really high, and it saved my life. First, airbags went off, of course.
An 18-wheeler hits a Honda Accord, and you walked away.
And I walked away. Yeah, and nothing happened. I mean, I was just, and the only thing I was bummed about that I didn't get to play that tournament that I was trying to get to. I was in the middle of nowhere, friggin' Oklahoma, and I was trying to get because my car had got taken to a junkyard. And because they were going to total it, and I had to go get all my stuff, get a rental car to pack all my stuff in, and then go to buy a new Honda somewhere else. Right. And so it's just a process. I didn't have enough time to do all that crap and get to the tournament, so I was all bummed out. But I mean, yeah, I was just for a day, I was whoa, life flashed before my eyes. I would go to sleep and see those the semi truck lights coming at me.
For real?
Yeah. So it's crazy. So I kind of have this weird PTSD whenever I see a semi truck. I'm freeze up for a second, but I'm getting better. Yeah, it's crazy.
How many years has this been now?
This has been probably 8 years now.
Wow.
Yeah. Yep. So that was, but yeah, you just see so much stuff being on the road. I mean, right. So much. It's crazy. I've just been
from animals too, right? I mean, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, hit so many deer. I mean, I can't tell you how many deer I've hit. Probably 3 deer. I mean, I've drove one time with a whole bunch of deer, and this is most of the stuff's in the middle of the night, 3, 4 in the morning.
Right.
4 or 5 deer in the middle of the road. I'm driving through super fast, 60 miles an hour, and all of a sudden I'm of course groggy. I'm I get all bright-eyed, wide-eyed. I'm whoa, what's going on? And there's a bunch of deer in the middle of the road, and somehow I can't even tell you, I missed every one of them. And it was I missed them all, and this kept going. And I was what just happened? I'm I don't know how this happened. It was crazy. Yeah, and
that is so scary.
Yeah, it's nuts. And so yeah, there's been a lot of different things, and just getting pulled over by cops all the time, multiple times, and they recognize, hey, you're
no,
yeah, oh yeah, I've had cops pull me over in my van. This is probably 6 years ago, and I used to have the van with my name on it. They would pull me over and be oh, hey, I didn't want to pull you over, but I just wanted to say hey.
No,
yeah,
what did they do?
Yeah, I was oh dang it, here we go. And then, so I've had cops do that, pull me over to say hi because they're disc golfers, and they saw me driving down their highway.
So you signed a disc, knowing you signed them a disc.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. A lot of times I'll give them a disc or something, yeah. Right. And so just make a fan out of it and just get to, say hey. But, yeah, it's super fun.
Nowadays you must have a surplus that's just the side of the car because you're going to get pulled over 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, exactly.
Good to see you, officer.
Yeah.
Good to see you, officer.
Yeah. So next time I get pulled over, I just pray that they're a disc golfer. Then I'm all right, I can get out of this. No, and then, but yeah, so that's, that stuff's awesome. Just get, meet new people on completely random, police officer. Never would expect to actually maybe make a friend out of that situation.
Well, that's something I never even thought of, like the danger that does exist driving. I mean, it's absolutely
it's
there.
crazy.
And to tell us a story like that is, wow. Well, I'm glad you're okay.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Glad I'm all right. And the Honda Accord safety ratings are probably pretty good.
Yeah. Thanks,
Seems
Honda.
like it. Yeah.
What player helped you the most in early development, would you say? Can you credit one person, or is it more of a collective? Like Avery, you mentioned Avery, so
yeah, the Jenkins family for sure. But I mean, you gotta. For me, like Paul Macbeth, we used to travel together. Actually, a lot of people don't know that we used to be travel buddies. And so, as far as like a competitive player standpoint, me and him battled a lot, and we pushed each other. You know, he would win a tournament in 1 week, and then I would win the next week, and we're just always.
And you're in the car together.
Yeah, and so that was
to the next tournament.
Yeah, that's something a lot of people don't know is we actually for I don't know a brief period of time, maybe 8 months, we played a lot of tournaments together. You know, I'd travel with them, stay in the same hotels, and all that. And so we were friends, and I think that we pushed each other. I'm sure that he would say the same thing about me.
He was someone that like yourself. It was more about the getting yourself on to be that number one player in the world. That the focus was so there, and I can see obviously the two of you. Yeah, not you're both getting there maybe in different ways, but you're traveling the same car.
Oh yeah. And so that he was a person that's definitely pushed me, and like you said, someone that I guess pushed me to be a better player,
right?
And I think that between him and then the Jenkins family, they were just really welcoming and showing me the ropes on what it takes to be a true professional disc golfer.
So when you're saying push each other, I think this kind of people might want to like delve into that, and I got the opportunity sitting next to you, so. But I think hitting certain shots, like, hey, you think about trying this shot, and here's the two of you working on the game on a course together, prepping, or did you not even play with one another on the front end of a tournament when you're prepping and getting ready for that event? Or would you?
Yeah, we played together. Yeah, we would play practice rounds together all the time. Yeah.
So you'd see the shots to hit, and you'd show each other the shots to hit.
Yeah, we would play together, throw shots together, of course, and do our practice routines together. But I think for the most part, it's like the week in and week out of like battling against each other.
Right.
It's like what
made us competition.
Made us both better.
Right.
We were both pushing each other. Like he knew that, hey, if he was off, I was going to win, and I vice versa. If I'm off a little bit, he's going to beat me. And so that was kind of something that from the competitive side that we couldn't really, we couldn't really get lazy. We had to keep leveling up in your how you get better. Whether it's for him, it was like getting better at forehand. In the beginning days, like he never really had a forehand. So, I'm not saying that I was the one that inspired him to do it, but I was always throwing forehands and doing certain things. And so, just for an example, maybe he took that forehand and said, all right, I need to start learning how to throw forehand. And for him, it was me learning from him is like he's a very consistent player. He's good at hitting angles. He's good at throwing the right shots at the right time. In clutch time. And so I really, got to see him play well in those spots. And I, was able to just, try to emulate that a little bit as far as, obviously everyone's game is different, but as far as, just how he handles it and how you can learn from people that are really a great player at whatever sport they're great at.
Higher percentages, playing the higher percentages, even though you may want to, you see that shot that's the lower percentage, but you can pull it off.
Yeah.
Having a guy like Macbeth, seeing him play percentages
for sure
wins out
in the long run.
In the long run, yeah.
As opposed to hitting a tiny slot in the tree that may be you're gonna hit that 10% of the time.
Right.
Versus the around the tree that's going to be a little harder, but you have the higher percentage to get there.
Right. That's the kind of stuff I can totally see the two of you, and your game's developing. That's really cool. So he's one, and I guess what is your ages are pretty close. And he's
I think he's 32, I think, and I'm 30. So we were pretty close in age.
Yeah.
So disc golf is a lot like that. You'll have the different age brackets where you got like the Felbergs and the Barry Schultz, and then you have like the Jeremy Colling and Paul Ulibarri and those kind of, and Nate Sexton, those kind of players, and then you have the players like Nico's and those guys, and then you have like the I guess middle age, as far as like me, Paul, and then you have like Simon and those guys. So we're kind of in that middle, and then you got the young kids like Gannon and Silas Schultz and
Klein.
and Kyle Klein and those
Yeah.
guys. So yeah, there's just different
Yeah.
different brackets of players and what where they're at in their career, and so yeah.
It used to be on the PGA Tour, like in Nicklaus's era.
Mm-hmm.
No one won majors until they were in their 30s. Like
Yeah.
they just didn't mature enough as a person to be able
Mhm.
to manage that
Right, pressure.
that
Mhm.
pressure. Right. But you're seeing that drop considerably in players going from high school to pro
Mhm.
and winning, and seeing what Gannon's been able to do in the last couple of years for sure. Do you? I also see it the opposite way though, where with medicine, with diet, with supplements,
Mhm.
with just a healthy lifestyle, that the top of this is much longer than it used to be. You look
For
at
sure.
Tom Brady playing in the
Mhm.
NFL is absolutely incredible until this year, right?
Yeah, 45 or whatever he was, 44.
Andre
Yeah.
Fleury is still playing in the NHL. He's 40 years old. And
Crazy cool.
he's a premier
Playing at a high
goalie.
level, yeah.
And that, as a goalie,
You have to be so flexible, and you have to be insanely flexible
and fast.
and fast. Yeah, fast twitch muscles. You have to be reaction
Exactly.
time, all that.
So what's happening with our bodies as athletes is pretty. I'm not saying I'm certainly athletes.
Yeah.
I'm just saying we're talking with an athlete, guys. So that's putting myself and lumping myself with that group, right?
You are. You are.
You're looking down. I see you looking down.
Athletic. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like you had a little good Christmas there, Dan. Huh?
No, I didn't say
I get
that.
it. I get it. That's fair though. But it really, you have all these generation of players, and for us fans, that's really exciting because you have fans that are young and you have fans that are old, and we want to see you guys that are our age represent our age,
For
and
sure.
then you want to see guys that are younger do well, because that only brings in more talent.
Mm-hmm.
They're
sure.
feeding it in.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to hear you say, to go back to where you were. It was someone that was your age that was really more of the influence in getting better
Yeah.
than it was someone like a Feldberg who was saying, hey, throw it this way or throw it that way. When you probably knew out of the gate, I'm throwing it better than you, dude.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I appreciate everything you've done to carve the sport
Yeah.
forward and move it forward. But at the same time, yeah, we're bringing up a new game.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's what's happening.
Yeah, it is for sure. And it's just like anything. You always have to adapt with new things,
Right.
And so I think that's, in sports, there's always that shift. So like I would say 5 years, there's a shift of, are you going to make that shift, And so like,
That's
I think
so
there was a
cool.
shift with
So
like
true.
the Gannon and those in that era. It kind of pushed out a little bit of a couple players, and then 5 years from now, it's going to push out some more players. And so it's, can you keep your body healthy? Can you stay strong enough? Can you
Right.
perform well enough to make that shift?
Right.
And so that's basically, as a professional athlete, you want to make as many shifts as you can and play at a high level as long as you can. And like I said, healthy, working out, and practice routines and all that stuff is going to be what takes me and allows me to plunges and all that stuff. It just allows me to play and to the best of my ability for as long as I possibly can. And like you said, I think that there is me playing until at the top level and winning elite series tournaments and having chances and hopefully winning world titles until I'm 40, 43, 44 something years old.
Yeah. Well, we're hoping for that.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. I've never heard it put in those terms of shifting, but that I bet you that's pirated. People hear that because that is really well put.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's exactly what's happened.
Yep.
But I've never heard an athlete put it in that way. So that was good.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
You're welcome. Yeah.
That's where you get like the take your breath away.